Business models? Hi, this is Jim Gibson with Business Sense Podcast. Thank you for listening today. I appreciate it. Now, we're going to be talking about business models. It's not necessarily what you're thinking. What is a business model? Well, a business model is figuring out your customers, figuring out your customer needs, figuring out how you can address those needs, figuring out how you can afford to address your customers' needs, and how you're going to gather customers, how you're going to run your business. What is it going to take? Where are the pitfalls? It's sort of like a business plan with philosophy, and it's called a business model. Some models are fantastic, and they really work well because they've been well thought through, and they've identified the customer's needs, and they've been able to address the customer's needs in such a way that benefits the customer and therefore benefits the business. Zig Ziglar once said that if you want to be successful in business, you got to help other people to be successful, and then you'll be successful. And that's what a business model is. How you're going to meet the needs of the customers that you have identified. A couple decades ago, I was listening to the news. And, at the end of the news, sometimes the news broadcasters are joking back and forth at each other. And they just thought this situation was hilarious. There was a company where a man up in Northern California, while he sold his multi-million-dollar house, took all the money he had and he invested in this company. And you know something, 3 years later, it still has not made one dime, one penny. And now he's looking for more investors. And they said, on top of that, he has this big ego problem because he named his company Amazon. Yes, Amazon. I remember at the time thinking, well, some businesses don't make money right away. That's just the way it is. It takes sometimes a year or two to make a profit. And these guys don't know what they're talking about. They're just talking heads on TV. And of course, the rest of the story. The fact that he's now a billionaire. I wonder if those two dudes on the local TV show are still laughing. Or maybe they were the ones that are just kicking themselves for not investing in this outrageous idea of Amazon. He had a great plan and he had a great business model. And he was absolutely right that it was going to be successful. But he took all his money and he plowed it back into the business year after year after year before it was successful. There's other businesses that have been around forever. And I think about the taxi cab industry, and you know where I'm going with this. In New York City, they have to have a medallion. And this medallion needs to be riveted or welded to the hood of the car. And it proves that they have a license to be a cab in New York City. And I understand they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for those medallions. And then Uber came along with a different business plan. How he was going to address customers' needs. How he was going to meet customers' needs. And he wasn't going to buy any medallions. Of course, I wouldn't be buying any newspapers these days. I mean, the newspaper company, that is. Most newspapers are going out of business because of the internet. I remember a couple years back, a company calling me up asking me to do some business consulting for them. And of course, I get paid to do business consulting, so I'm always anxious to do that. It's only a few miles from my office. And I decided that I would, hop on over there and get a brief of what they're doing and how they're doing it and stuff like that, and then give them a proposal. And they agreed to that. I showed up. They took me to their conference room. It wasn't okay. It was just average suite. And I said, so what do you guys do for, what is your business? And they said, telegrams. I said, telegrams? Tried not to laugh like I did. I said, telegrams? What are you talking about? And they explained that it was just traditional telegrams, things that have been around since, 1910? And I'm thinking, haven't they heard about email? And I said, well, what seems to be the problem you're having? They said, well, each year for the last 15 years, our business has been getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And they said, we would like you to give us some business advice. So I said, yeah, you need to get out of the telegram business. And they said, that's not an option. We're going to be staying in this telegram business forever. It's a family business. It's been in the family for generations or, I don't know, however long. And we're going to stay here and do this. And I said, I don't think I can help you. Their business model was not such that they could actually make a profit selling telegrams. Some of the equipment, believe it or not, was running on Windows 98. And when I asked them about that, they said that they have applications running on Windows 98 and the company went out of business. And they have not been able to get an upgrade to the application. Oh, it was a mess. I felt sorry for them. Good people, nice people. But you know something? Their business plan, their business model was horrible. but no different than newspapers today. Tell you the truth, pretty soon it's going to be the broadcast, NBC, CBS, ABC, and they were giants when I was a kid. They were absolute giants. When I started Nova Voice and Data Systems many, many years ago, the reason why it was called Nova Voice and Data Systems is because most of my business was voice. Putting phone systems in the phone room, connecting phones using a separate network. They weren't even called a network back then. And then, of course, running separate lines for a data network. And it was actually very profitable back then. But then, of course, Voice over IP came out. And you know something? We learned Voice over IP and we were able to deal with that. We were able to set it up, run it, troubleshoot other people's Voice over IP and fix them. We were also data people, so we could put in the data networks, routers, the switches, program things. But then Cox Communications came along. And they're the local dial tone provider, them and AT&T. But Cox in particular decided to come out with a new program. They would give you Voice over IP, VoIP phones, for free. If you signed up for 3 years of their service, they'd manage it and everything else. They would make any changes you needed. They would provide voicemail. They would do everything else, but you just had to sign up for 3 years on their internet access. Well, it's kind of hard to sell against free. So I had to sit down and start thinking this through, whether or not I wanted to continue in this business. You know, I looked at my business and I looked at taking 3 years to train someone in voice. Because if you're a Microsoft person, most likely you have a PC that you started with as a kid and you learned a lot about it. Everyone knows about browsers and Microsoft Office and things like that. But if you want to learn telephone systems, there's no way you can do that at your house as a kid. You have to go and get a job at a company like mine, where we have years and years and years of experience on telephone systems, so we can train you. The trouble I had, though, is I couldn't keep my employees. Well, it's just the way it is today. So I'd hire 3 employees, and of course, by the time they got complete training, only one of them stayed that long to get the complete training. And then, of course, you had to have service vehicles. I had a handful or more, a lot more than that, service vehicles. Well, you had to be insured. They had to have tires, new tires. They had to have gasoline and oil changes. They had to have repairs. They had to be stocked with the right equipment. So you had to train all these people. You had to stock it with the right equipment and everything else. And I said one day, you know, it's not really a good business model. I don't think I want to do this anymore. So if you own a business, what is your business model? Is it heavy in labor? Do you have a lot of regulations? Are you making enough money to justify all that expense? That's what you have to think through. Now, if you're thinking of going in business, well, of course, things are different today than they were years ago. Now, you don't have to necessarily go out to a business. If you're going to sell a VoIP phone, you program it, you stick it in a box, and we did this also. And you ship it, and they plug it in. And then you can program it from a distance if it needs any changes. And of course, you also have data. You can do all your data remotely now. And not only can you do that remotely, but you can also do a lot of cybersecurity remotely. You can also do a lot of consulting remotely. So to make a long story short, you might have a different business plan than I had 30 years ago. You better have it, because things change. Things change a lot, and you got to keep up with them. So my final question is this. What is your business model? And does it make sense? Did you do your research? If you're in business, do your research. You probably have more data that you can rely on than someone who is starting a business. But if you're starting a business, do your research. Maybe you can start small with minimum amount of investment to prove some of your ideas. They might be theories now. See if they're right. Then on top of that, when you're all done and you are in business, then you're going to have to make adjustments. Everyone has to make adjustments in their business plan and in their business model. But pick a model that works. Don't get caught up buying medallions for taxi cabs in New York City or investing your money, your capital, in newspapers. I'm sure you can think of 1,000 other bad adventures right now that were fantastic just as early as 5-10 years ago. So the bottom line here is, if you're a business owner, pay attention. If you're starting a business, do your research. This is Jim Gibson with Business Sense. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this. I love comments. I respond to most of them that I can. And subscribe. I'm looking for subscribers. Trying to get to that 100,000 mark of subscribers. And at the recording here, I'm 43,000. So if you can subscribe, it would really help. And if you think these podcasts and the other classes that I give, I got, 250 videos now, and you'd like to support my efforts, please do so. We have Subscribestar and we have PayPal. And you can make a one-time donation or you can make a donation each month, and that would go a long way in the videos and the podcast. Thank you for listening, and you have a great day.